Good morning. This is Ron Brown. This will be my weekend update. As you can tell, my voice is not all that great again. But anyway, I want to get through this. And what I want to talk about is new categories. We're going to talk about the top 50 GIR that's been missing for a few days. It's fixed now, and I'm going to go there and show you what I look for. I'm going to look at the pre-market, and I'm going to look at the sectors and the HGSI market-generated indexes. I do want you to delete your warehouse and chart views before you install the new quarterly add-on. I'm using quarterly add-ons rather than monthly just to make it easier for everybody. Okay, as always, the market is your teacher. You're going to see that in this video. Any stock index or ETF mentioned in this presentation is not a recommendation to buy or sell. All trading strategies are used at your own risk. So I'm in the designer, as you can see. I'm going to go to the custom groups, HGS top 50, 2026. The most recent is 2026-01-15, which is yesterday, and that brings up a list of 50 stocks. I'm going to click through to the warehouse view, just make it full screen for a short while. And I want to go into my daily scans and just click on number 1, the scorecard. This is the basic view, and you can see, well, you get a lot of information here. You get the Wyckoff indicators based on the volume, spread, close, and you can see how many days these have been active. Here's one that has been negative for 20 days. Let's just bring it up. You can see that it's been in a long slide down, but it evidently caught enough of the smart groups to show up here in the top 50. Gapped open here, went up here, came back down. But that one might be, if you look up here, you can see that it says it reached a new recent high on higher volume, but failed to hold. And there's the VPA flag right here. You might keep an eye on it, see if there's any follow through, because something turned this around. Here's stopping volume, and then the big gap up, and it couldn't hold. Okay, let's take a little closer look at this. And what I like to do is I like to sort on here and see which groups are represented, and then go into the spectrum analyzer, and you get a count of the groups. So out of 50, 20% of them are precious metals, followed by semiconductor, manufacturing, 14%, and so on. Only one steel producer. But just a quick read, use the spectrum analyzer, and you can see that I'm in industry on the drop-down menu. Now, if you want to look at only major industries, you just drop it down one, and then semiconductors now occupies 22%, followed by metals and mining. Then if you want to look at the sectors, you can see that the technology sector really dominates this group, which only makes sense because it was a move into tech yesterday. Well, there were several movements really, and I'm going to get into that. If you want to see where the strength has been this week, just bring the ranking module up and then go on here. Percent change 1 week, and this shows you that TTMI is up 36.573% for the week. Let's just take a look at it. Oh, wow, look at this. Well, you can see there's been selling into it the past 2 days. Not a stock you want to jump into right now. Well, I shouldn't say that. It may keep going. Now this ranking module calculates from last Friday's close. So through Thursday's close, it's up 36.573%. So here's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Okay, let me prove this to you. I'll get in close here. So here is this week. So Friday's close, I need to do my alternate A. Click on these two. So Friday's close to yesterday's close. And if you look down here at the bottom, 36.7% over 4 periods. I'll get rid of this and bring this back down. 36.573. So remember, it's Friday's close to the current close. It doesn't go day by day. It goes from those dates. Friday's close to whatever the current close is. Now I'm back in the warehouse, and you can see it's at number 14 here based upon the combo. Also, you can see that it crossed over 5 days ago. Now let's bring up a different chart here. And I'm going to use this chart. I just want to see where the crossover occurred. Right here, you can see the accumulation, the light green, which means that it was either a bullish candle, something that meets the requirements of my filter, and then here's the crossover. So anybody paying attention to this stock on this day would see the volume crossover with the effort to rise signal. Now there was no pocket pivot signal until it got up here. But there's an effort to rise, and I either require a pocket pivot or an effort to rise, and this would have cut it perfectly. But now you can see they're selling. If you look over here, an upthrust bar after a move, a sure sign of weakness. Transfer of ownership. You can see it's going from the bulls to the bears. Effort to rise, that's a bullish side. We get contradictory signals here. An up thrust bar is a sign of weakness. Okay, let me get out of here. I'm going to go back to my basic chart. And I think that's all I'm going to talk about on the top 50 GIR. It's very useful because you get so much information here, and a lot of these are the leading stocks, and you saw that in the ranking module. Now let's move on. Another great place, and I need to get to all securities. You can use the alternate spacebar to get here quickly, or just go to it. And I'm going to bring the quick pick up. This is where I like to go next. Now, several weeks ago, I put these two categories, which are very useful, up here under my name. Top-down category, end of day, relative strength through S&P sectors, and the QQQ. So if you just open that and you click on this, it goes directly to the S&P sectors, and then you sort on the raw combo. It lets the QQQ and the spider SPY come in here automatically. So by clicking on the end of day relative strength to the S&P sectors and sorting on the raw combo, which is the end of day percentage price change and the range, these two are what the driving force to get these to the top. You can see the XLI was the industrial group, was the leading group. But really, to break it down, I'm right here now, and I'm just going to go down to the XLI sector. And you can see that there's a lot of stocks in here. And the top stock here is United Airlines. I'll bring up United, and you can see that it had a very strong day based upon the candle, spread above average, close high, earnings. I think this is the earnings estimate. I don't think earnings are out yet. I know they're not. So after this effort to fall, it reversed yesterday, and you can see that the group went up too. This is why I like to use this plain chart for looking at these, because I can see what the group's doing. So the group, the dotted line, the group's down here, and then it turned up. Delta is number 2. You can change to the industry group and isolate these, the ones that are in the sector, or you can go back, and I'm going to go back here to the relative strength sectors. What's second? Consumer staples. And that is what? XLP. Sometimes I have to remind myself what these sectors are. You can see it's a much smaller sector. Now these are S&P stocks. I put them in groups. I get them from Barchart, and that way I can go from the sectors right down to see what the breakdown is in the stocks, and I can see how they're performed. Bunge Limited, look at this stock. Now, look at the group line. Group, this pretty much following the group. Boy, the group fell hard here, but relatively, this stock was stronger until it got over here, and then it started following the group. Now, let's go back down to that rally. You can see that this picked this up perfectly. I'm going to enlarge this. Look at all, here's an accumulation day, another one here, another 2 here, another one here with a no supply, a sign of strength, and then this stock took off. So after, let's do a quick read on this, after the crossover day, the open the next day, I guess I should use a different color, but 17.9% over 8 periods. Let's go to a different color. But for the next stock I do this on. Okay, so you can see that that was a good crossover also. So back up here, let's just get this. These columns are very valuable. I say this all the time, but look for the crossover days and see what you have here. Now here's the Campbell's company, Campbell's Soup Company. You can see that it has been it had a dividend, and then it's kind of been under accumulation here. We're getting some VPA flags, and look at the group right here. It's moving up very quickly. Now let's get a little longer look at this stock. It really hasn't done anything, but it's probably wanting to participate with the group. I don't know. I don't like it, but that's why you look at the crossover days. Let's go down here, look at that cut and rally, and see what we have with it. So we do have a volume, or a pocket pivot volume here, plus an effort to rise. If you like to buy beaten down stocks, keep your eye on this one. But I just used it because of the pointing out the usefulness of the crossover days. Let's go down here. Oh, that's a QQQ. Actually negative a couple of days ago. So here's the Q. I can compare any of these stocks to the QQQ, and I can also compare to the SPY, which is down here. I just put these two in because they're so observed by all market participants, so you can see if these stocks are outperforming either one of those indexes. So you probably get the idea. I'm sure you do. You can look at the sectors from here, and then you can see where the strength was or weakness, and then you can go down to the group of individual stocks. Let's just go to XLC, and you can see that there's a lot of red here. Percentage price change was mostly red. And what is the weakest stock here? Chart of Communications. Let's bring it up. There's a crossover that failed. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go to my daily chart. Clearly underperforming the group. Group line here. Charters here. It's a short rather than a long. Now these charts that I'm showing you are in my most used charts. Most used, I'm using 1, and I'm using 1C. Now what's the strongest stock in this group? And you can see a dramatic difference. Okay, that's enough of that. I'm going to go back up here to this quick pick. See if there's anything else I want to talk about. Yeah, let's go down here and look at the relative strength of the S&P 500. So rather than the sector breakdown, I decided to put this filter in to see the relative strength to the entire S&P 500 based upon the combo. And let's just take a quick look at that combo. It's only got two components to it. The percent range is 66.7% and the price is 33.3. So I'm looking for stocks that close high in their daily range and also are up for the day. And you can see that the two airline stocks were up there. Now I'm going to click over here in this box and go down and see what the weakest stock was for the day. Robinhood Markets. IBM's down here. Let's look at Robinhood. This stock was doing so well here. I didn't realize that it had fallen back so far. If I put the crosshair on, what was the high here? It was around 154. Now it's around 111. But that's just a quick read on where the strength and weakness is just by flipping this. It takes you down to the bottom. And this is end-of-day relative strength to the S&P market leaders. And this is accomplished with the filter. It has to be, these stocks have to be a group member of the market leader group that I maintain. It's a smart group and also a member of the S&P 500. Market leaders have to have a fan up and be within 5% of the 52-week high, or these symbols. These symbols are going to show up by using the or statement. So let's see how many stocks. There are 96 of them. And this is a relative strength compared to the market leaders folder. In other words, they have to be in both groups is what I'm trying to say. I'm going to scroll over here to the right. And there's a column here, 52-week percent close to the 52-week high. You can see that these are all within, I have to go back here and flip this, all within 5% of the 52-week high. That's a requirement for being in the leaders group. Okay, I'll go back. Sort on raw combo. And these had to have a bullish signal. You can see these are bullish signals. So there are 79 of them. BG is on top. Yum Brands, bullish flag. If I go down to 1C, I'm sorry. I guess I have two 1Cs. I need to change that. You can see the crossover right here with an effort to rise. I'm going to go in and change that right now, and I'll upload these charts so they're in the right order. 1C has become 1D, so disregard what I said earlier about 1C. It's 1D now. I just like to go back, and when I'm doing analysis, go back between these two charts, because this has the industry group. Look at the industry group here, and the other one has the crossovers. Now, you don't have to use those two charts. I see I had to have two. I better go in and change these, get these charts straightened out. But anyway, you'll find them for now, and I'll do that. I'll reclassify them sometime next week. Okay, you get the idea though. So that's it. And then here's some other end-of-day relative strength that I put in. These are the Qs. You can see there's 103 securities in here. I'm just going to flip through these. Don't need to explain everything. Well, this crossed over 9 days ago. Let's go back down to that 1D now. And look at that crossover there. Look at this with the volume pocket pivots. It's a relatively new stock. And it happened 9 days ago. How about Constellation Energy? It's showing up near the top because of the combo ranking. Been under accumulation. It's a $340 stock. So anyway, I'll go through these quickly. I want to get to the indexes. These are relative strength weekly optionable stocks and ETFs. Here's another group which is pretty much the same group. End of day relative strength, the stocks and industry groups. These are just kind of superfluous, really. And here's one, end of day relative strength to market insight ETFs. I've talked about this before, but these are all ETFs, and you can get a feel for where the strength was yesterday. Now these are not going to have a group because they're ETF, but you can see the regional banking was second, industrial. Just gives you a quick read on what the ETFs are doing, where the strength and weakness is. These are the most followed stocks. You can see how they performed. These are the QQQ market leaders. In other words, they're the fans up, and they're within 5% of their 52-week high. These are bullish or strong bullish or potential trades. This bullish VPA flag, stopping volume. And then bearish. Okay, now you can look through those very quickly, but it's easy to find the strong stocks within these industry groups. Now when the market opens, and it's not open, right now it's only 7:42, about 45 minutes to go. These same groups are here, so you can track them intraday. So if I click on this one, these are the prices yesterday. I'm sorry, I'm back in the end of day. What am I doing here? Down here, I want to close this one, keep this one open. But you can see intraday changes. So this was intraday up 0.92. Now let's just for fun, let's go into the end of day relative strength to S&P, and it was 0.90. It rounds it, but it's pulling in yesterday's intraday. And but my point is, you can track it intraday, or you can also do the let's say you're in XLB. This is end of day, and you want to track it intraday. You want to track it intraday from the yesterday's end of day. Just remove the combo right here, and it won't resort. So if Steel Dynamics is up intraday when the market opens, then you'll know it's following through. You can just disengage the combo rank. Let me get back to this. So I won't be talking when the market opens, but everything that's up here in the end of day is in the intraday, so you can track it that way. Okay, let's move on. Okay, I'm in the designer. I'm going to go into user groups, market analysis, user groups. I'm going to use the market cap weighted index, and I think I'll just use the S&P 500 because it's the most discussed. This is a 500, 400, 600. Put them all in the S&P 1500 index, and you get a feel for the overall broader market. Actually, let's use the S&P 1500. And I think I'll just go full screen on this. Now, looking at the S&P 1500, I will drop down to the S&P 500. They look pretty similar. Now, I really don't look at the other market data. I pretty much look at HGSI indexes that are created because I know this is a market-weighted index, and I have VPA signals and so on. It just, you'll see we get a lot of insight from this. Now I'm going to go in. I'm in the S&P 500 for now, and I'm going to go to my HGSI index charts and just run through these. You know, you can see on the S&P 500 that the accumulation, if you look up here at the top line, it is green, which is A accumulation. If you look over here, they're labeled A and E accumulation. So the A accumulation is starting to flatten out, and the E accumulation is going up. And you can see what happens when the market's really selling off. I'll put the crosshairs on here. The E accumulation really moves up quickly, and the A accumulation moves down. Now this window is A plus B, represented by the dark green, and then this is D and E. Now let's just move on down quickly. This, you can just see the rotation here. It's a little bit confusing, but if you want to see what each of these are doing, it shows you the inflow and outflow of accumulation. This one has a Chaikin indicator in it, and the accumulation bars, and you can see where it goes from C to B. A is dark green, B is light green. So the accumulation numbers look pretty strong on the S&P 500. Let's take a quick look at the S&P 1500. Looks strong there also. You can see there was some distribution here. This is a slow indicator though. It's just in there. I don't really use it. I don't use any indicators other than moving averages and the volume indicators. There's what's the point? They're all based upon that. Okay, now here's the advanced decline line on the S&P 1500. Look how strong this is. And let's look at the 500. Probably not much different. Stronger even. How about the 400? Strong. 100. Strong. See how you can just flip back and forth on these charts? Now this shows the percentage of stocks above their 20-day moving average, 30, 50. And these are the numbers right here. You don't have to go over here and look for the number. I put them in a warehouse view right here. So above the 50-day moving average, 72.56%. Now when the market is weak, I'll bring up alternate I. So bring up your alternate I key, and you can see the percentage of stocks above the 50-day moving average here was 46.85%, and now it's 72.56%. So there's a lot of strength in this S&P index. And of course, you can go to any other index too. I didn't go, did I? So that looks strong. I mean, this market, it's unwilling to go down so far, and we'll see if it's got to go down at some point. Okay, potential buy and sell signals. Now, this is the S&P 500. We had a sell signal here, and we have not had a buy signal yet because of the lack of volume. Advancing declining volume, we haven't had a 3-to-1 day on this index yet. If we'd had a 3-to-1 day, we'd have a light green bar. And there was a 3-to-1 down day on this one. So it's moving up, but the conviction is not there based upon volume. So here is a buy signal right here because the requirements were meant for 3-to-1 or 3-to-1 on both of them. But you can see that this volume bar, there's just not a lot of conviction. I think there's a ton of money in money markets rather than risking the stocks. But you can also see from looking at those stocks earlier that there's the movers, you can make a lot of money in a hurry. Now the next two charts are just variations on this one. This one doesn't have the moving averages like the prior one. So you can see where the fan is. So no fan. But I put this in a while back. I wanted the fan back in here. And then I put the expansion contraction windows here so you can see where the 3 cross the 6, 6 cross the 18, and the 18 cross the 50. If you want to look, see what these are, they're explained over here. Okay, the next chart, internal, it's just another internal chart with bar chart and the direction, VPA direction. So if, right here it says volume less than average, spread above average, close in the mid. So this is picking up the lack of average volume. But here's the AD line and the 50-day moving average. Index internals, this is just a window chart I put together a long time ago. It shows you all of the internals information. This is all calculated by HGSI. This is a combination of everything. with the addition of the force indexes. McClellan oscillator, you can see it shot down, but it's working higher. The advancing issues versus declining issues, if it's above this line, it's positive, and it's 309 to 193. Trend chart just shows you the different colors and tells you what over here, if the volume's less than average and so on. Right here is the line I'm looking at. And then finally, this is a weekly trend chart, and these are not colored because we need 120 bars for the VPA to kick in. So there's no VPA or direction over here. But it says right here that volume is less than average, spreads below average, close at the mid. I just stuck this in so I could get a weekly perspective. So let's look at the 1500. Market looks strong with low volume. Relatively low volume, I should say. But this just gives you the overall. Generally I do start here and then go to those sectors and see what happened. But boy, you just get a lot of insight with HGSI that I don't think you get elsewhere. I don't look at other software packages anymore because there's so many out there, and I think there's just overkill. Now I'll leave it at that. Anyway, thank you for listening, and have a good weekend. I hope you enjoyed this look at the market. You can go through this in 5-10 minutes. You don't have to spend over a half hour like I did. Thank you for listening.